everyone, ready to find out what happens next? Let's get into it. Chapter 46, Bloody Mary and Halloween, Part 1. The following afternoon found the male bikers returning from a run to the grocery store. Sky had kicked them out that morning and had refused to let them back home until she called them. They soon saw why Sky had gotten them out when they finally pulled into the driveway. The outside of their house had cobwebs over the front of it, as well as ghosts hanging from different branches in the trees. Tombstones were placed in strategic places in the yard, and to top it off, there were scattered skeleton bones that moved every now and then. I guess she wasn't kidding when she told us that Sky was redecorating the house this morning, Alistair said, arching an eyebrow as they got out of the car. Who? Asked Valen, glancing at his older friend. Lola, Alistair replied, grabbing a few grocery bags. She asked me if we were doing anything special for Halloween. When I told her that we weren't, she gave me a pitying look and told me that Sky will remodel the house. The Australian's head tilted. Really? Really? How come? I would think that would be obvious, replied Raphael as he locked the car. It seems we now know what her favorite holiday is. This should be interesting, he continued with a smirk. We're back, Valen exclaimed, barging into the house through the unlocked door. Seconds later, he stopped in his tracks, and his jaw dropped open. Raphael and Alistair, who had been following after him, soon figured out why, and they couldn't quite believe their eyes. The chandelier in the foyer had several spiders hanging from them, as well as more cobwebs to match the exterior decorating. Ghosts hung from almost invisible hooks in the ceiling, some of which hanging from barely visible fish wire. The chimney that Amber liked to pop out of so much now had a cauldron in the grate, and electric logs that lit the bottom of it. Electric candles, coupled with a couple of black lights here and there, added to the haunted atmosphere of the house. It took Alistair a moment to find his voice. She did all this in the space of 3 hours. This is awesome, Amber declared, swinging upside down from the banister in front of them. She was dressed entirely in black, with small black bat wings clipped onto her shoulders. When she smiled, the 3 of them could see gleaming fangs. Holy crap, Amber! Valen yelped, stumbling back. You gave me a bloody heart attack. She giggled and executed the flip, landing on her feet gracefully. Relax. Halloween is in a couple days. And I'm going all out, Sky said, walking down the stairs in black skinny jeans, a green corset, and Converse shoes that came up to her knees. Oh, joy, this should be fun, Alistair said, grabbing the groceries and taking them into the kitchen. It will be, Sky called after him. Hey, Sky, Valen said, walking into the girls' room. I have a question for you. Shoot, she said, not looking up from her sketchbook. Do you want to play a game? Sky paused and looked over at the teenager, raising an eyebrow. What kind of game? I read about this one on the internet, he said, grabbing her arm and dragging her into the bathroom. He closed the door behind him, causing Sky's other eyebrow to shoot up. If this is 7 minutes in heaven or something like that, she began indignantly. Valen shook his head. No, it's nothing like that. So then, what are you playing? Asked Lola, peering around the door. Oh, great. Maybe you know how to do this, said Valen brightly, moving over to let Lola into the room. Once she was inside, he closed the door again, and then locked it for good measure. Lola looked over at her best friend with a teasing smile. So why are we having a party in the bathroom? She giggled. Do you ladies know how to play Bloody Mary? Asked the boy curiously, cutting over Sky's reply. Lola stiffened and lost all color in her face. Bloody Mary? Yeah, I read about it on the internet and I want to try it, Bennett replied enthusiastically. We really shouldn't be messing with these sort of things, Lola said, her voice shaky. Sky merely nodded in agreement. You do know what happens, right? Van gave her a confused look. No, I just Googled Halloween games and that popped up. Sighing, Sky sat on the toilet and glanced over at Lola. Bloody Mary is a game that has a lot of urban myths behind it. It's said that she appears in a mirror when summoned, and in order to summon her, yeah, you say her name 3 times and she appears. I read up on it. So you know what happens when you summon her, right? Prompted Sky, but when Valen shook his head, she sighed again and continued with, after the given amount of chance, she will then appear in a mirror to claw your eyes out. Death will follow. Other variations have her driving you insane or pulling you into the mirror, never to be seen again. Lola flinched again. So now that you know what happens, can we not play that game? No, I want to do it, Valen exclaimed, turning off the lights and clicking on a flashlight. Let's see what happens. Lola let out an uneasy whine. Valen, I hate this. I want out, she said, her voice clearly frightened. Come on, this isn't real, retorted the Australian, his smile lit up by the flashlight. You wanna do it, Sky? Sky shrugged. Why not? Not you too, groaned Lola miserably, huddling against the wall and out of sight of the mirror. Let me out before you two start, because I don't wanna. Bloody Mary, Lola froze, staring at the two of her friends in sheer horror. No! Bloody Mary? No, come on guys, don't do this. We shouldn't. Bloody Mary. Silence fell after the last sentence was spoken, and then Valen broke it with a concern. Lola, you aren't hyperventilation over there, are you? Madre de Dios, you too. Let me... Madre de Dios, you too. Let me out, let me out, let me out! I can't believe you made me stay in here while you messed with the supernatural. She whimpered, squinting when Valen accidentally shone the flashlight in her eyes. Valen shrugged, looking over at the mirror with a disappointed sigh. Nothing happened. See, Lola? I told ya. A loud thump suddenly came from behind the mirror. Lola let out an unearthly shriek before sprinting from the door, and then proceeding to actually burst through the door in her mad dash to escape. Raphael's POV. I need to glue the pictures to the wall. Valen keeps knocking these things off the wall, and he will figure that whenever he does, he ends up pulling the hooks out of the wall with the pictures. He usually knocks them off in his room. I'd get Alistair to fix it instead of doing this myself, but I don't trust him with the hammer. Not when Valen's somewhere nearby. I started hammering a new picture hook into the wall when I heard a shriek from the bathroom, which is on the other side of the wall. Seconds later, the sound of splintering wood came out from the hallway. I set the hammer down before hurrying out into the hallway to find out what's going on. Sky? I called, starting to worry. I haven't been able to identify who has screamed, but it could have very well been her for all I know. When I got out of the hallway, it was to see that Lola had curled up in a corner of the hall into a tiny ball, rocking back and forth in place and mumbling in Spanish. Sky was right by her side. Lola, are you all right? I asked, looking at her with some concern. From behind me, I heard someone come up the stairs, likely to see what was going on. Lola? Alistair repeated, moving around me to look down her. He got on his knees so that he was eye level with the Hispanic girl. Lola, are you? In the blink of an eye, Lola had snatched herself around Alistair, trembling and continuing to mutter Spanish. Alistair shot me a concerned glance before directing his attention back to Lola. Deciding that Valen had to know what was going on, I turned around to where Lola must have broken out of. The bathroom door had a nice hole in it, probably where the girl had burst through it, and I could see Valen looking at me through the hole in the door frame. What's going on here? I asked. We were playing a game and she freaked out. I wasn't expecting her to break the door down. Valen nodded defensively when he saw I was scolding at him. Don't make me fix the door, Raph. It isn't my fault this time. I'll be the judge of that, I responded, frowning at him. What game requires you to be in a bathroom? Bloody Mary, Sky offered weakly, watching Lola. I didn't know she would freak like this, Raph. Honest, Valen protested. She only freaked out because right after we finished the chant, we heard a loud bang from behind the mirror, said Sky, looking at me apologetically. After that, Lola lost it. I nodded. I see, I said, exchanging looks with Alistair. Lola, I started. Lola, I started, getting at her level. That was me. I had to nail a picture back up. I must have started about the time that you finished playing the game. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Lola's head snapped up furiously. I wasn't playing it. Your local friend made me sit in the dark so he and Sky could. I didn't even want to be in there, she snapped. Oh, please, that's all fake. It's not real, Lola. You know that. Alistair replied flatly, but then he grunted when Lola elbowed him in the ribs with a vicious jab. Ow! I don't care. I hate this kind of crap, you pincy idiota. She nearly roared, startling me. She shot to her feet and stormed down the stairs. I'm going home. Call me when you're done being a pendejou. When you're done being a pendejou. The downstairs door slammed shut, and after waiting a few, I sighed, breaking the awkward silence. Sky, why don't you come with me and help me make dinner? I could use the help, since Valen will be up here, fixing the door. Why me? I'm not the one who broke the stupid thing, retorted the teenager. But after I leveled the patent, you will do as I say. Look at him. The boy grabbed and disappeared downstairs to get the tools. Alistair had risen to his feet, an unreadable expression on his face. Sky, you understand Spanish better than I do. What all did Lola call me? Pincy idiota literally means freaking idiot. Pendejo, though, it has two meanings, though I don't know which one she meant. She either called you a jackass or an asshole. One of those. I noticed the way Alistair's eyes flickered, though I had no idea what could possibly be running through his head at the moment. I see, was all he said, disappearing into his room and closing the door behind him. Chapter 37, Bloody Mary and Halloween, Part 2. So, what are we making? Sky asked her boyfriend, watching him as he rummaged through the refrigerator. I don't know. I don't suppose you know what we can make, he replied with a short laugh. Why don't we make some dumplings and see what comes to us? Making something, it's a good inspiration. It sounds easy enough, agreed the blonde man, starting to get out the ingredients. A few minutes later, while the two were in the midst of making the dumplings, Alistair came into the kitchen and sat down at the table. Although he didn't look outwardly upset, they could see the cell phone clenched in his hand. You look like a cat that just got a flea bath, Sky commented idly, repressing a sneeze as some of the flour filtered through her nose. And you look like the gingerbread man's demented cousin, but you don't hear me saying that, retorted Alistair testily. Oh, I'm so sorry, Your Highness. Should I go get you your coffee and tea now? Sky asked, rolling her eyes and returning her attention to the dumplings. The redhead's scathing glare spoke louder than words. Raphael glanced over at Alistair and studied him for a moment. Ah, I see what's wrong. Lola hasn't called you yet, has she? He guessed sagely. Boy, did you screw up, muttered Sky loud enough to be heard. Shut up! How the hell was I supposed to know she would freak like that? The red-haired man snapped. Alistair, she gets scared even thinking about horror movies. Don't you remember all the fuss she made over the paranormal movies? But that's a movie. It's obviously fake, Alistair argued, looking irritated. She didn't used to be so afraid of them, and in fact she liked them as much as I did when we were younger, said Sky reminiscently, leaning against the counter. Alistair and Raphael both looked at her with identical dubious expression. No, seriously, she loved them just as much as I do, Sky insisted, putting her hands on her hips. What happened to change that? Raphael asked. Sky sighed. When Lola and I were younger, we played Bloody Mary. You know, just because we were kids and thought it would be fun. Raphael looked surprised. Really? He asked, suddenly comprehending why Lola had been uncomfortable. I take it something went wrong. Otherwise, Lola wouldn't react to anything in the horror genre the way she does now. I take it something went wrong. Otherwise, Lola wouldn't react to anything in the horror genre the way she does now. Well, right after we played, strange stuff started happening to us. I didn't think anything of it, but Lola, she did. What kind of strange things? Asked Alistair, looking intently at her. You know that scar that she has? That really thin line down the right side of her stomach? I think you saw it when we had that 4th of July party, and Lola was in her swimsuit. Yeah, I saw that, Alistair said. Lola said that was from surgery. What about it? She was lying. A few seconds after we got done playing Bloody Mary, she got scratched by something. The mark wasn't there before, and she couldn't have done it herself. Raphael's eyebrow went up. Are you sure it wasn't there before you played? Yes, Raphael, I'm sure, replied Sky, looking troubled. Then Lola kept seeing Bloody Mary in the mirror whenever she looked at it. Got to the point where her parents took all the mirrors out of the house so that she would calm down. She mellowed out when she got older, and she's fine with mirrors now. But ever since then, well, you saw what happened. Sky looked over at Alistair and said, You have called her to apologize, right? She won't pick up. I'm debating on star 69ing her. The red-haired man replied shortly with an unreadable expression. I left her a message on her cell phone, so hopefully she'll get that. Halloween. Tonight is going to rock, Sky sang brightly as she put on the finishing touches of her costume. She had decided to be a witch this year and had chosen to wear a red corset dress that ended 3 inches above her knee. To complete the look, she put on a black jogger, a witch's pointed hat, and a wand with a skull on the end. How so? Asked Raphael, peering into the foyer where Sky was. For what I have planned, she exclaimed, grinning at him. see, Why is there a sign on our lawn warning the passerby of the haunted house? Alistair asked, walking into the house and shrugging off his coat. That's the plan. Our house is going to be a haunted house, explained Sai happily, beaming at them both. Alistair, you could be a vampire. Naturally, muttered the redhead, looking affronted. Valen could be a werewolf. Make him a mummy instead. That way we can gag him and he can say idiotic things all night. Alistair, quit being so grumpy. Just because Lola hasn't called you back doesn't mean you can take it out on us. Alistair, quit being so grumpy. Alistair, quit being so grumpy. Just because Lola hasn't called you back doesn't mean you can take it out on us, Sky said with a laugh. The other man shrugged dismissively with a clearly uncaring look on his face. Anyways, I already got Amber to be our mad scientist, she continued. And I'm so ready, Amber called, coming up from the basement. She was currently wearing a long white trench coat, black gloves, and a white wig with black goggles on her head. Raphael nodded in some approval. I get it. We're putting on something for the kids to do, he said. Yep, and I don't think you're out of the picture, Raphael, because I have a role for you. This made the man look over at his girlfriend, not entirely liking the expression on her face. As much as I'm going to regret asking, what do you have in mind for me? If I told you, it would be telling, responded Sky cheerfully, skipping down the hall and turning out of sight. The blonde man sighed and looked over at Alistair. I hate it when she says that. The slender biker shrugged and moved to go up the stairs, but then he paused and looked back over at Amber. That coat! That wouldn't happen to be Kaiba's, would it? Amber nodded, ignoring Alistair's jab. Duh! I refitted it so I could wear it. So I'm assuming Kaiba doesn't know you have it. He's got like 3 of the same coat in his closet. He won't miss one. Alistair contemplated this and then gave her a thumbs up. Nice work, Raggedy Ann. Later on. I'm so excited, Sky giggled, looking herself over in the mirror. Come on, you guys. Alistair was the first one down the stairs, wearing the Dracula costume Sky had gotten for him. So why are we doing this again? Because it's fun. I got bored, and no one in our neighborhood is doing anything anyways. Where's Valen? Here, Amber said, flying down the stairs. I just finished with him. Come down here and show off, Valen. They could hear footsteps on the stairway, followed by the sound of someone tumbling down the stairs. Sky moved to investigate the fallen figure, wrinkling her nose in confusion. What is Valen supposed to be? The Australian was wrapped in toilet paper, but underneath the fold of it, a pair of wolf ears stuck out, and fake claws were on the tips of Valen's fingers. When he grinned up at them, it was to see her fake fangs. I'm a werewolf, Mommy, he declared proudly as he got to his feet. Yep, I combined your idea and Alistair's and ta-da! Amber said bravely. A knock came from the front door before it opened and Lola entered. She was wearing the same costume as Skylar was, but it was green. You people, seriously, lock your doors, she groaned. Her eyes connected with Alistair's, and there was an awkward silence between the two of them. The redhead's face went entirely blank, showing nothing of his thoughts. Hello, Alistair, Lola said monotonously. Lola, he replied simply, nodding his head in acknowledgement. Okay, Sky said, wrapping her arm around Lola's shoulder. You ready for this? Of course, she giggled, brightening as Sky led her down the hall. Raph, come on, Valen called up the stairs. They're going to be here any minute. On second thought, I'm staying right where I am, came the gruff reply. Make do without me. Sky glared in the direction of the stairs. You're not going to tell me I spent the last 3 hours getting you ready and now you're chickening out on me. I didn't have to. You did it for me. Raphael, come on. You look fine. I don't think so. I have to live here. If I wish to retain that dignity, I won't be able to participate. Come on, Raph, called Valen. It can't be that bad. There was a long pause and then a drawn-out sigh. Fine, here I come. No laughter, though. With that statement, Raphael came down the stairs, looking petulant. His face was covered in green makeup down to his neck, the makeup also on his hands. The areas around his eyes, however, had been darkened. Boards had been taped to his neck, and a fake scar ran over his forehead. A black wig and baggy, ripped clothing completed the look. Valen promptly burst into laughter. Oh God, Raph, that's brilliant, he crowed. We've got us a Frankenstein. She even put black lipstick on you. Oh, that's just hilarious. Keep talking, Valen. I can choose not to buy you any kind of sugar ever again. I thought you weren't going against Frankenstein, Alistair commented, trying not to laugh. What changed your mind? Raphael's eyes shifted over to Sky. Flashback. No. Please, Raphael, Sky begged, pouting. It would be perfect. Not a chance. Why pick me for this? Because you have the body structure for it. Raphael sat back in his recliner and folded his arms. Not going to happen, Skylar. To do that, I would have to wear makeup. And don't tell me you wouldn't make me wear it. You're a perfectionist at heart. I have my dignity, and I refuse to do it. That's my final word. Sky sighed. Fine, she huffed, crossing her arms. Seconds later, though, a wicked grin split her features. I guess I won't warn you about the spectacular Halloween prank Valen's been plotting, since he won't be participating. A shame, since he was plotting to pull it on you. Raphael was not immediately fazed. You're bluffing. What other reasons can you think of that will have Valen missing for the past 4 hours? Raphael studied her intently for a moment to determine whether she was lying, then sighed heavily as he rose from the chair. Against better judgment, I think I will do as you ask. It's the lesser of two evils, at any rate, he said, making a face. Sky, who had been leaving the room, spun around with a smile on her face. Thank you, she said, kissing him on the lips. End of flashback. Let's just say that I was blackmailed into it and leave it at that, he said shortly. As much fun as this is, can we get ready? Amber asked with excitement, handing towards the bowl of candy. Nice try, Alistair said, grabbing the bowl and holding it over his head. No candy yet. Oh, come on, Alistair. Just one. We don't need you all hyper. It's contagious. It makes him act up too, said Alistair bluntly, gesturing to Valen. Jasper passed by with Misha on his back, barking loudly at them. Yeah, I know you two are ready, laughed Sky. For what? Are they taking part in this too? Sorta, because this is supposed to be a haunted house. It might be a bit too scary for the younger kids. I had Amber train Jasper to lead the kids to the kitchen, where they can have 5 pieces of candy from the bowl in there. Now are we ready? Asked Sky, turning to face the small group. Yep, Amber replied sadly. All right, Raphael, go with Amber down into her lab. Valen, you and Alistair go out the back. When the kids come, we know what to do, Sky, said the other bikers in unison. All right, Lola, you go by the cauldron and work my magic, she said, winking. Raphael eyed the basement door warily. I try to avoid this room at all costs. I don't even want to think about what's down there at this moment, he said with a frown. Oh, Raphael, you'll be fine. Amber won't blow you up or anything, replied Sky airily. Have a little more faith in me. Besides, I'm using electricity this year, not dynamite, stated Amber matter-of-factly. Okay, that's... Wait, what? What do you mean by that? Asked the blonde, his expression shifting into worry. Sky, if I get hurt, I'm blaming you. Amber grabbed his arm and bodily hauled the man downstairs, laughing evilly all the while. Come along, my creation, she chuckled. Sky, I don't like this. I love you, Sky called as Raphael disappeared down the stairs. The doorbell rang, prompting Sky to nearly run to get it. She paused, took a deep breath, and winked at Jasper. And here we go, she said. Sky's POV. Trick or treat, the children on the front porch sang in unison. Greetings, children, I said. Welcome to my humble abode. Is this the haunted house? A little boy in a Spider-Man costume asked. I let out a true witch's chuckle. Indeed, child, it is. But before we enter, I have to ask that children under the age of 7 to please follow my friend Jasper here to the kitchen, where you can get your candy. Please only take 5. I moved away from the door to allow a small group inside, which were the parents of the younger children followed after Jasper. About 15 more children were left out of the left out on the porch, waiting to get inside. "Enter all Yahoo there. I hope you're ready for a scare," I said, opening the door and allowing the remaining kids inside. Once everyone was assembled, I opened the door to the basement. "Come now, children, and see what I have in this house of mine." The children followed after me, and I could hear murmuring amongst them as they looked around. Several picture frames opened on the walls as we passed them, skeletal hands reaching out to grab at us. This caused several children to get caught off guard and jump, while the rest of them laughed. I paused in front of the door that led into Amber's lab. Turning to the kids. "We are now entering the lab of my scientist. Beware, dear ones, for she is working on an experiment. You mustn't get too close, lest she use you as one of her experiments," I warned as I ushered them into the room. I had to admit it. Amber had completely turned her little space into that of a mad scientist laboratory. Red, green, and blue light bulbs had been placed in varying patterns in her lamps or in the ceiling lights, with only a few regular lights lit. She'd also positioned several beakers next to these lights, as well as stringing random wires and having chalkboards filled with nonsensical equations in the room. Amber herself was toward the side of the room, a huge power switch in her hands. She was positioned behind the metal where she had looked up several electrical cables. She was standing on a cleverly hidden platform. The table had something on it, hidden underneath a blanket. "At last, I have gathered enough energy to bring my monster alive," she chuckled evilly. She pulled the switch and actual electricity sparked on the ends of the table. "I know I'm going to hear about this from Raphael later," where the cables met. Whatever was under the blanket jerked and started to move, while Amber let out another evil laugh. "Mwahahaha! It's alive! It's alive!" With a dramatic flourish, she pulled the blanket off the table, revealing Raphael beneath it. Well, I knew it was Raphael, but the kids didn't. That's what counted. His movements were slow, and I could tell he was the teeniest bit disoriented, but he still managed to get off the bench and started walking towards the kids with a groan. I tried not to laugh, and he stretched out his arms and came at us. "No, my monster," Amber said, moving in front of him. "Come with me so that we may wreak havoc on the townspeople." She began to lead Raphael toward an alternate exit while the children clustered around me. "Now, my children, let us depart so that we may meet the other members of the house," I said, ushering them to the door. As we left, I heard Raphael mutter, "You didn't tell me that I was actually going to get electrocuted." "I did warn you. Why do you think you're wearing a rubber suit under that costume?" Amber countered. I couldn't help but laugh as I closed the door behind me. I heard the kids talking amongst themselves. Some were saying that they were scared, while others were talking about how amazing the laboratory was. I smiled as I led them to the door, taking us to the backyard, and stopped at the door, turning to face the small group. Unfortunately, this marks the end of the tour, but fear not, we are off to meet my sister, who has a special treat for you. I opened the door and allowed the children to go out first. Once they were outside, they waited for me to lead them to where Lola was standing. We were walking towards Lola when a loud howl was heard. The children turned to see where that noise came from and gasped. "A werewolf!" one girl cried as Valen came into view, backing away from the side of the house. "And a vampire!" cried the boy in the Spider-Man costume as Alistair advanced. The two of them faced off for a moment before Valen lunged at him, trying to scratch at Alistair with his fake claws and snarling. Alistair easily dodged it with the swirl of his cape. "What's the matter, mongrel? Is that all you got?" he asked stunningly. I could tell Valen wanted to say something back, but after getting a glare from me, he just growled again. He paused, bouncing his muscles together before tackling Alistair, the two of them tumbling out of sight. "Ouch! Valen, you..." began Alistair, but then I heard him sigh and snap. "Cursed mongrel, release me!" "I'm sorry that you had to witness that," I said, redirecting the fascinated kids away from the side of the house. "But look, there is my sister, and she's making a special surprise for you." The children immediately forgot about Alistair and Valen fighting and ran over to see what Lola was doing. She had been pretending to be focused on stirring the cauldron at her feet. "Would you like to see what I'm brewing?" Lola asked as the group came up to her. The kids nodded their heads eagerly, and Lola smiled, reaching into the cauldron and pulling out several small bags of candy for each of the kids. "Oh, wow! She made candy! That's amazing! Miss Wedge, can we come back next year?" Lola and I grinned at each other. The haunted house was a success. Alistair's POV. 2 hours later, the neighborhood quieted down and we were all taking down the Halloween decorations. We had to convince Sky that yes, Halloween was over, which was why it was taking us so long. We were nearly finished when I finally bumped into Raphael on the stairs. "Where's Frankenstein?" I asked teasingly. Raphael scolded at me. "He's dead, and he's not coming back," he replied flatly. "Unless Sky asks you to," I pointed out. "Speaking of which, have you talked to Lola yet?" I paused. "No chance yet. Too busy," I said brusquely. Raphael eyed me. "You should. I don't think any of us can take your bad mood for much longer," he said simply. "You might as well try. Either that, or you can try calling her later. We all know how successful that option was." "I'll try." Lola's POV. "Lola, make up with Alistair." "Why should I, chica?" I said, looking up at Sky in something of surprise. "Because he's been miserable. He's been trying to get a hold of you since you left, and he's been in a really bad mood. Hell, he doesn't even try to pull jokes on Valen anymore, and he even stopped the prank war with me. As much as I enjoyed the peace and quiet, it doesn't feel right." "Sky's right," Amber said. chiming in while taking off her jacket. He rarely calls me Raggedy Ann, and I kinda like it when he does. It urges me to insult him back. Speak of the devil, I muttered when I saw Alistair coming to us. Can we talk? He asked quietly, actually looking uncomfortable. I even noticed a small stutter in his voice. There's a first. Sky and Amber glanced at me, then back to Alistair. She can, they announced in unison, shoving me at him before promptly disappearing into the house. I am going to murder them later. Normal POV. Look, about what happened involving the Bloody Mary thing, he began. I'm sorry. I made light of it. It scared you. I didn't know you'd react like that. Yes, you did. The time at the movies didn't give you a tip-off? Lola snapped. It did. But then again, you didn't tell me that the Bloody Mary game would scare the crap out of you, he retorted. I know now that you're scared of it. You know nothing about me. I do too. I talked to Sky about what happened when you were a kid, Lola. If I'd known that had happened, I might have not acted the way I did. You mean you would have been more understanding? He said angrily. More affectionate? God, that's hard to believe. You're showing me affection. Alistair stared. What? When did this shift into a talk about PDA? He asked incredulously. Lola shot him a deaf glare. That's the whole point behind this argument. Real boyfriends don't brush their girlfriends off when they need someone to talk to. They communicate with their girlfriends. They actually make physical contact. And they actually show concern when their girlfriends are scared out of their minds. Are you saying that I don't do those things? That's news to you? You're constantly brushing me off. You never make physical contact in public. You never compliment me. Yes, I do. Saying that I'm hot doesn't count. You haven't been supportive at all, and you never show affection. Look at Sky and Raphael, she started. Raphael is the ideal boyfriend that any girl will be lucky to have, and Skylar is that lucky girl. I'm not Raphael, he growled, eyes suddenly blazing. That's not fair to compare me to him. We're two separate people, Lola, and I do show you affection. Oh, yeah? What about when I was freaking out after playing Bloody Mary? I was a total wreck. Sky has been spending the night with me ever since. If you really did care, then it would be you, not Sky. Lola looked at the sky above them, struggling not to cry. It's obvious that you don't care about me, she said, her voice going softer. I understand why my sister is still single. Guys are jerks. She began to walk away when Alistair grabbed her arm, holding her in place. Let me go, Alistair, she snapped, glaring right back at his blazing gray eyes. Not until you hear me out, he growled, but then she pulled out of his grip and took a step toward the house. Alistair easily moved in front of her to block her route, but he soon realized there was a different problem. Lola had forgotten about the cauldron at her feet. She tripped over it and let out an alarmed squeal as she toppled forward. The redhead turned, clearly started as he saw her falling to him, and he moved to catch her before she would hit the lawn face first. He got her and pulled her to his chest to protect her. And in all the chaos, they ended up kissing each other. They both stiffened for just one moment before they scrambled to their feet and away from each other, staring wide-eyed at one another. Alistair hesitated and then slowly opened his arms. Lola moved into them and he hugged her. There was one last pause, and then Alistair bent down to deliberately kiss her. Lola returned it, then buried her face into his chest when they parted and let him hold her. "I'll try harder to be a better boyfriend," he murmured quietly a few moments later. "What are you two doing?" Raphael asked, standing behind Sky and Amber as they peered out of an upstairs window. What are you two doing? What are you two doing? Raphael asked, standing behind Sky and Amber as they peered out of an upstairs window. "Spying," Amber said with a grin. "We're seeing if Alistair's going to make up with Lola." "I'm just making sure she's all right," Sky said, frowning when she could not immediately see them. She looked like she was about to explode any minute when we left them. Where did they go anyways? Raphael glanced directly beneath the window, only to back away and drag Sky with him. They seemed to be doing just fine. "Oh, come on, Raphael," Sky patted. "You're no fun." He raised an eyebrow before flinging her over his shoulder, earning a scream from her. "No fun, huh? I find this most amusing." "Raphael, put me down!" "Nope," he chuckled, making sure Amber was following after them as he left the window. Alistair and Lola deserved to have a private moment. The following morning, the biker's household was woken up by Sky's outraged shriek. "Who put cottage cheese in my deodorant?" Alistair, who was downstairs in the kitchen, grinned. "Prank wars back on, Sky," he said pleasantly, humming as he returned his attention to the eggs on the stove. Chapter 38. Forts and Christmas Candy. The early morning at the biker's house was peaceful for a change. Supposedly, it would be far too early to get into mischief. Supposedly. Valen was awakened by the sound of a cap gun going off next to his ear, and he let out a scream. "Holy shit!" He sat bolt upright in bed and glared up at the figure holding the weapon. "Alistair, you jackass! Why did you wake me up? You nearly gave me a heart attack." "Sky wanted me to get you out of bed. She said something about going on an errand with you today." "At this hour? I don't care if she's Raphael's girlfriend. I'm not going to—" "Hey, where are you going?" he asked, noticing that the redhead was already halfway out of the room. "I've seemed to stop caring." "Wait, just don't let Raph know about whatever it is that you plan on doing to Sky in revenge," Valen hollered at the retreating redhead. Raphael woke up to the sound of a gun going off, followed by Valen's alarm scream. Naturally, he was startled and rolled off his bed and landed on the floor. Well, sort of. He was pretty certain that the air mattress he had landed on had not been there before. His attention went to the door as Alistair walked through it. "Let me guess, you fired the gun?" he asked, standing up and brushing himself off. "Yeah. Figured you would fall out of your bed and I took the liberty to cushion your fall," Alistair replied easily. and I'm much appreciated for that. I'm surprised that didn't wake Sky up, though, he said, raising an eyebrow. She's been up for a while. She's in the kitchen at the moment, feeding Misha and Jasper, and making coffee, I think. At this hour? Valen shares your sentiments. It's far too early for her to be awake. Why did you fire the cap gun? Sky wants to do something with Valen. She said something about some errand. Raphael's POV, later on in the day. What are you reading? I asked as I walked into the living room. I had been heading back to the office when I had noticed the redhead sitting on the sofa with a book. I would think this will be obvious, he said sarcastically. I rolled his eyes and walked into the office. Sarcasm wasn't necessary. Deal with it, he retaliated. What time are they coming home? Should be about now, I said, just now sitting down at my desk. I hope he's late. I like this tranquility. We never get it. At that very moment, the door got kicked open, and the visibly angry Valen stormed inside the house. You spoke too soon, Alistair, I said, poking my head through the door. I can't freaking believe this, he hollered, storming upstairs. Valen, come on. Valen, come on, Sky called, her entrance much calmer than Valen's. I noticed that she was carrying some shopping bags. You're being ridiculous. What's going on? What did you do to piss him off? Alistair asked, looking over at her. He's never that angry at you. Why are you blaming me? She said defensively. I did it for the best. Sky, no offense, but whenever you do that, things get worse. Enough, I said, raising my voice and effectively ending the argument. Now what is going on? It's her stinking fault, Valen said, pointing at Sky as he leaned over the railing. What did you do, Skylar? All I did was take him to the mall to get him new clothes. And it appeared to be the same store that Weller shops at. Alistair let out a laugh. That's great. Shut it, Alistair. You know how much I hate him. Valen snarled. And she embarrassed me. I didn't mean to. How was I supposed to know Serenity was going to be there? You have that girly telepathy thing going on. That's why. You're being ridiculous, Sky screamed back. You embarrassed me in front of her. I was about to reply when we heard Valen's door slam shut. It looks like you got your tranquility back, Alistair. I laughed. How was your day? Sky asked, walking up to me and giving me a kiss. Pretty eventful. It was pretty quiet around here. Got some work done, so I'm a week ahead on the paperwork. Yay! Sky exclaimed, jumping up and wrapping her arms around my neck. More Raphael time for me. I chuckled and untangled her from me. Get a room! Alistair barked, not looking up from his book. Why are you so moody? You kissed Lola, didn't you? Sky asked, a knowing look in her eye. Don't lie. Amber and I saw you too. And got the picture, Amber exclaimed, sliding out from the chimney. Alistair's eye twitched. You better not post that. Too late, she responded, a goofy grin on her face. Before Alistair could stand up to try and strangle her, a loud beeping sound began emanating from Amber's pocket. Crap, my kitty's on the loose again. Bye, called Amber cheerfully, easily crossing the room and out the window before Alistair could get to his feet. Alistair now looked over at Sky, glaring at her. Do you have a copy of that photo? Nah, I'm not touching Amber's stuff. It might explode, Sky said nonchalantly, going upstairs. I'll be back down to start dinner later, she continued as she disappeared up the stairs. Seconds later, there was a loud thump and a startled animal whine. Crap! Sorry, Jasper. I didn't see you there. Alistair rolled his eyes, and I looked at the stairs concerned. You alright? I called up to her. Yeah, I'm fine, Raphael, she assured. No worries. She's a klutz, Alistair smirked, taking out his cell phone and looking at it when it beeped. And don't deny it, Raphael. You know it's true. I sighed and pinched the bridge of my nose. I prefer to use the term accident-prone. Good, you admit it, Alistair said, going quiet as he read the text message. That from Lola? Yeah, she wants me to come over to her house for dinner. Apparently her grandparents are in town again, and they want to meet me, Alistair replied, pocketing it after typing out a reply. I'll see you a lot later. Have fun, I said, watching the red-haired man walk over to the door and grab me his coat. Alistair shot me a thumbs up, but did not turn around as he walked out the door. Where's Alistair? Sky asked when she came back down. She changed into some more comfortable clothing, switching out her jeans for a pair of black yoga pants and a baggy t-shirt. Her hair was up in a messy ponytail. Just left for Lola's, I explained, walking over and looking down at her. So we have the house for ourselves? She asked, looking up at me. Minus Valen, who's blasting him music. It seems like it, I chuckled. We never get time like this, just the two of us. Anything you want to do in particular? Well, Sky started, a suggestive look in her eyes. What I will want to do that involves a blanket and pillows. What will that be? Well, I thought it would be obvious, she giggled. Skylar, your father will murder me. Took her a moment, but then she flashed. No, not that. Oh, good Lord, that's not what I meant. She yelped, turning red. What made you think that? Well, what else would we be doing with pillows and blankets? Building a fort, what else? She asked, sticking her tongue out. Where's your mind at? I was aware that it was still in my head. Sky glared at me. Alistair's sarcasm is rubbing off on me, I replied, running a hand through my hair. I'm sorry. To be fair, though, you were vague. I guess I should have been more specific, she agreed, smiling at me. So, about that fort? I chuckled. You never cease to amuse me, Sky. Normal POV. I'm back, Alistair called, walking into the house. He bent down to pet Jasper, who had come to greet him, but when he did not see anyone else, he frowned. Sky? Raphael? Valen was still out, but Raphael and Sky should still be at... Let me up, Raphael! Sky's voice growled from the living room. Oh, I don't think so, came Raphael's amused response. Come on, you're bigger than I am and you're hurting me. I believe that is the whole point behind this, isn't it? Alistair paused, What in the name of... No, surely they weren't doing what he thought they were doing, were they? Ouch! moaned Sky suddenly. Are you alright? asked Raphael's concerned voice. Yeah, but next time watch where your head is at. Oh, I knew we should have used more pillows and blankets. What the hell is going on in here? Alistair asked, stalking into the living room. He stopped in his footsteps when he came face to face with the fort, pillows and blankets making up its components. Oh, welcome home, Alistair, Sky asked. Sky smiled, poking her head out from the fort. Dare I ask what you're doing? Sky was teaching me how to play a video game, which I just beat her at. Raphael replied with a grin, coming out of the fort to grab one of the water bottles. Sky followed after, looking annoyed. Did not, she snapped, smacking him. And what is up with you, Alistair? Oh, nothing. Besides the fact that I basically walked in the house and thought you were having a passionate love-making session. The other two both blinked before flashing. Shut up! Sky almost shrieked, burying her head in her hands. How did it go with Lola's grandparents? Raphael asked, clearly trying to change the subject. It went well, but the next Spanish-speaking person to cross my path will end up severely maimed. A smirk appeared on Sky's face, and she said innocently, Veo, ¿tuviste un mal tiempo? Oh, ¿pensaban que eras Nina? Alistair's face darkened, and they were both convinced that steam was coming out of his ears. I might not know entirely what you said, but I believe you just implied I was a woman. I called you a girl, to be exact, Sky said, sticking her tongue out. She squeaked as the redhead lunged towards her, and she ducked behind Raphael. Don't even think about it, Alistair, Raphael responded wearily. No physical harm is to be brought against my girlfriend. You know that. Like I'd ever hit a girl, Alistair countered, turning to leave. He paused and looked back over at Skylar with a mischievous grin. Oh, by the way, Sky, did you enjoy the new scent of your deodorant? That was you? I yelled at Valen for that, she replied, poking her head out from behind Raphael. Fiend, she continued as she pointed at him, glaring at the redhead. Didn't I tell you that if you play with fire, you'll get burned? It's not fair. It took me 2 days to get that smell off me. So that's why you were avoiding me, Raphael mused. Indeed it was. What? Did you think you did something bad? Indeed it was. What? Did you think you did something bad? She questioned, eyeing the blonde. No, he said in reply. I figured it was a really good reason that you were avoiding me. Sky just rolled her eyes as Venom came down the stairs, carrying down a box of explosives. I see someone is doing better, Raphael mentioned, eyeing the box with trepidation. Where do you think you're going with those? Sky questioned. I'm taking this over to Amber's. I haven't seen her in a while, and I figured she would want this. As long as those explosive devices are out of the house, we don't care what you do with them. Valen started to walk out the door, only to freeze when his eyes landed on the fort. You made the fort and didn't tell me? He asked, sounding outraged. Go get rid of those things and then you can come back. Next day, I don't think we should leave Skylar at home ever again, Alistair said, walking towards the house following the blonde. The two of them just came back from the grocery store, only to find that Skylar had decorated the inside of the house. There was holly everywhere, garland, nutcrackers, and the tree was already up and decorated. There were poinsettias around the house, and the stockings were hung over the fireplace. I second you on that, Raphael calmly stated, placing the groceries on top of the counter. He paused when he found Misha on top of the kitchen cabinets. How in the world did she get up there? He wondered, reaching up and scooping up the kitten. A blur flew past them, chuckling madly as it knocked over Alistair and disappeared out the kitchen door with a wild yell. The redhead looked after him with a sigh. That was Valen, wasn't it? He said with a sigh. Indeed it was. Christmas candy? Amber most likely. Ah, should we catch him? Raphael glanced over at Sky as she stalked into the room with an oversized butterfly net. I think we'll leave that to Sky, he said, letting her pass him as she stomped outside. 2 minutes had not even passed when the same blur came running into the kitchen, this time knocking Raphael over. Where did he go this time? Sky asked, returning into the kitchen. Your guess is as good as your guess is as good as ours. Where's the net? Raphael asked. Valen broke it, she sighed, going to the fridge and opening a bottle of water. The female biker had a confused look on her face as she looked up at the redhead. Can I help you? What have we told you about allowing Amber into the house with candy? Alistair scolded. Don't blame me, Alistair. I thought she was out with her family, she said, glaring at the redhead. Raphael could sense this would get ugly, so he stepped in between them. Alistair, I'll grab the super soaker this time if you even threaten her. Skylar, don't antagonize Alistair. It's pointless to argue with him. The two bikers looked at each other before the redhead took off, Alistair leaving the bags he carried in the kitchen. Do you like the decorations? Sky asked, changing the topic and picking up Alistair's bags, placing them on the counter. The blonde couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. Yeah, they're nice. He noticed that Skylar was helping him put the food away and placed a hand on her arm. I got this, Sky. No, I want to help, she smiled, pushing his hand off, smiling. It isn't fair for you to do all this yourself. A small smile appeared on his face as he kissed her head. He then looked down at her, a confused look on his face. Is something wrong? She asked, looking upwardly at the man. No, nothing's wrong. It's just how the heck do you manage to finish decorating in less than 3 hours? Why is Alistair really good at sneaking up on people like a ninja? She questioned back, a smile on her face. Fair enough, he chuckled. I drink a full Fralo energy drink beforehand, which reminds me, I have to buy a new lock for my mini fridge and find a good space to hide it. Valen is still somehow getting into it. The two of them visibly flinched when they heard the sound of glass shattering. Valen, those aren't baseballs! They heard Alistair shout, which was followed by more mechanical laughter. I better go see why he broke, Sky said, walking out of the kitchen, but not before giving Raphael a kiss on the cheek. He smiled as he watched her dash off, which vanished when he heard feet pounding around upstairs. He knew for a fact that Valen and Alistair were somewhere on this floor, not upstairs. This is no good, Raphael thought to himself. What exactly was Skylar planning? Dinner will be ready in 30 minutes, he hollered to the other members of the house. Let me see now. I just want to make sure that I won't say the number wrong again. Let me see. Okay, it's 39. Okay, I was just wanted to make sure, that's all. Chapter 49, Bats and Paper Bags. And that is what happened. Ben finished taking a bite out of his pasta. The group was currently sitting down for dinner and had been listening to some story Valen had been telling them. You should know better than to sneak in through someone's chimney, especially the one at Amber's. And you should know better than to sneak in through someone's chimney, especially the one at Amber's, Alistair pointed out. It's common sense. What were you doing in Amber's chimney anyway? Raphael questioned. I wanted to see if I could roll out like she does, he replied defensively. Have I told you that you're an idiot? Alistair said with a sigh. Sky was about to take another bite out of her dinner when she looked up and saw Lola sneak through the open window. When Sky shot her a startled look, the other girl put a finger to her lips and motioned to Alistair, a mischievous smile on her face. Sky's eyes quickly darted away before any of the bikers noticed. She started listening to what Valen and Alistair were arguing about, trying not to look in Lola's direction. Raphael noticed her and would have commented, but Sky had elbowed him and subtly shaken her head. Lola took full advantage of the fact that neither Alistair nor Valen had noticed her coming in, silently blowing up a brown paper bag before placing it in the space above the two men's heads and popping it. Both of them let out startled yelps and leaped out of their seats, but because they've moved at the same time, they ended up colliding into each other and hitting the floor. Sky promptly burst into laughter, while Raphael was torn between laughing and shutting his girlfriend up. Alistair got to his feet and scolded at the Hispanic girl. What the hell was that for? I wanted to say hi. Also, I'm going to mention, yet again, that a lunatic can enter the house. I just proved that, she said, sitting down in an empty seat and serving herself some pasta. By the way, nice scream. It was a manly yell. Everyone glanced at one another dubiously before looking back to Alistair. Scream! They said flatly and in unison. So, what brings you here? Sky questioned, raising an eyebrow. I thought you weren't coming over today. My house is infested with cucarachas and is being fumigated. A cucawata? Sorry, a cucawata? Valen asked in confusion. What's that? It's pronounced cucarachas, Lola corrected in exasperation. And they're cockroaches. So since the toxic fumes are going to be polluting the air, I'm crashing here for a while. Says who? Alistair questioned. Me, Sky replied, grabbing her empty plate and walking into the kitchen. Besides, I thought you would love to have your girlfriend staying over. Alistair turned pink and muttered something, taking his plate into the kitchen. Later on that evening, Raphael readjusted his position carefully, making sure Misha was not disturbed before he set his book down. He was currently in his bedroom, doing a bit of late-night reading. He had just been about to turn his lamp off and go to sleep when a knock on his door made him pause. It's open. Alistair slipped into the room quietly, glancing over his shoulder furtively before closing the door. What did you do? Raphael questioned, noticing the smug expression on his friend's face. You look like the cat that caught the canary. Oh, come now, Raphael. You can do better than that phrase. Raphael's eyebrows arched. Fine. You look like Sylvester after he's just caught Tweety Bird. Ha, told you, replied Alistair. You know tomorrow's the 31st? Deciding that this has something to do with why Alistair looks so smug, Raphael said, New Year's Eve. What's important about that? It's your anniversary with Skylar. Please tell me you didn't forget. I didn't, Raphael retorted, setting his book on his nightstand. Why are you so concerned? Valen is planning on doing something to you and Skylar tomorrow on your date, said Alistair, sounding pleased. He made the mistake of talking too loud on his phone, and I overheard him. What kind of prank? The redhead shrugged. I have no idea, but I have at least forewarned you. So what are you planning to do with her tomorrow? Propose? Raphael's cheeks turned into a medium shade of pink. We've only been together for 11 months. It's too early to think about that. His last sentence only got a laugh from the redhead. Newsflash, Raphael. You guys have known each other longer than 11 months. I meant that she wouldn't want to get married so soon, Raphael defended. Besides, her father will kill me if I try doing that so soon after moving in with... Wait a minute. I see what you're doing. Doing what? Asked Alistair, suddenly sounding far too innocent. You're fishing for ideas as to what you should do with your anniversary with Lola, he said, grinning when Alistair's face turned red. The other man muttered incoherently under his breath as he had a dinner before leaving the room and closing the door behind him. The blonde chuckled. Nice try, though, he said, though no one was in the room. Skylar's room. What's the date tomorrow? Asked Lola abruptly, making Sky jump. They've been chatting all evening and had only recently turned out the lights to sleep. Sky had thought her friend would have been asleep by now, but clearly she wasn't. December 31st. What's so important about that? She replied groggily. An affronted gasp. Chica, it's your 11-month anniversary with Raphael. Sky blinked, counting the months in her head. Oh yeah, she replied, stifling a yawn. I wonder what he got you. Oh, maybe he's taking you out somewhere romantic. Or perhaps he's going to surprise you with something spectacular. He usually is good with this sort of things, she replied 5 minutes later. I have to wonder what he's planning. There was no reply. In the time that she had been thinking it over, Lola had gone back to sleep, just as abruptly as she had woken up. Sky shook her head in amusement and rolled back over, trying to go to sleep, wondering what Raphael was up to. He's a real sweetheart, isn't he? My magician said wildly, materializing and sitting at the end of the bed. She jumped. It had been quite a while since her dark magician had appeared. Look, dude, you have got to stop doing that. You're going to give me a heart attack one of these days, she whispered, glancing at Lola to make sure her friend was asleep. Don't whine, you big baby. You should be used to it by now. What are you doing out of the deck anyway? Your anxiety and anticipation over what's happening tomorrow is channeling into the deck. The rest of us monsters are picking up on your emotions, and frankly, we're trying to sleep. She felt a spike of interest. You can sense my emotions? It's a gift all of us dual monsters have. I ought to see Kaiba's dragons react whenever his younger brother's in trouble. She looked at the clock and winced. It was almost 1:30. No wonder her monsters were agitated. She reached over to her nightstand and snagged a pair of earplugs. What are you? I'll go to bed in a second, but if I were you, I would go back into the deck, I whispered, putting the earplugs in my ears. Immediately after that, I looked at the clock and started counting down the seconds until the time changed to 1:30. Alistair was about to get his comeuppance. 3, 2, 1. The sound of heavy metal music turned up to maximum volume flooded through the whole house, but over the din, a familiar yell from a certain redhead could be heard. Sky smirked into her pillow. Madre de Dios! Lola was awake again, and she scrambled out of bed, looking for the source of the commotion. Sky grinned before getting out of bed as well, and pretending that she had just woken up. What the hell is all that noise? Alistair, turn it off! Alan shouted as he entered the red-haired man's room, his hands over his ears. And you think I'm doing a tap dance here? I'm trying. The damn off button is taped down, and I can't get it off. Try and plug it. It's battery operated. Over at Lola, who was covering her ears. I'm going back to your room. Too loud, and I don't want to be deaf like my uncle. Raphael came into the room then, groggy and carrying a baseball bat. She grinned at him. At least it's not a vacuum attachment, she shouted over the den. The blonde shrugged sleepily, studied the situation, and then raised the bat and smashed the radio with one decisive swing. Bed now, said pointedly, already leaving the room. Sky took that as her cue to leave, stifling a yawn as the bickering continued between Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I didn't do it, Alistair. Don't lie to me. Come on, chum. Most of my pranks involve explosions. You have a streak of evil genius at times. I believe nothing. Go to bed before I use the bat on you, roared Raphael from his bedroom, effectively ending the argument and causing the younger biker to scramble out of the room. Skylar, was that necessary? She looked over and smiled at her magician when she re-entered her room. Lola's head was buried under the pillows, allowing her a safe conversation with the magician. Hell yeah, that'll teach him to not screw around with my deodorant. Seriously? This is about the deodorant? The dark magician shook his head tightly. Grow up, little girl. Good night to you too, Sky hummed contentedly. Chapter 40. Costumes and Gravekeepers. It was the morning after the alarm clock fiasco, and most of the household was still asleep when Skylar returned from her walk with Jasper. Humming softly, she unclipped the leash from his collar and watched as he disappeared up the stairs. She turned around when she heard the sound of footsteps coming from behind her. Good morning, Raphael, she said, looking up at him. He smiled, suddenly picking her up and spinning her around. This earned him a sound that was a cross between a squeal and a giggle. Happy anniversary, he said. He said, putting her down as he kissed her. Happy anniversary to you too, Raphael, she replied, kissing him back. I made you coffee, she added, walking into the kitchen with Raphael following behind her. Thanks, he said, pouring himself a cup. Sky smiled and went over to the store where a bowl of pancake batter. Sky smiled and went over to the stove where a bowl of pancake batter was sitting patiently for her. She had made it just before her walk with Jasper, confident that Alistair would be slipping in and would not sabotage the mix. Speaking of the redhead, she remembered the prank from the night before and giggled. That was a great prank last night. Raphael grimaced. Valen needs to learn when it's okay to pull a prank. Hey now, don't go assigning credit where it isn't due. It took me forever to figure out how to get back at Alistair, she said affectionately, putting a bit of the batter into the frying pan. The man blinked. That was you? I owe Valen an apology then, said the voice belonging to a certain redhead as he came into the room. Sky jumped, and the hand gripping the handle of the frying pan jerked, sending the half-made pancake flying through the air and onto Alistair's shirt. It stuck there for a long moment before it slowly started peeling away. The three of them stared at it for a long moment. Really? Alistair asked at last, raising his eyebrows at the girl. Sorry, but you had it coming. You're the one who snuck up on me. That's not important. You pulled that prank? Yeah, payback. Lame effort if you ask me. I wasn't, returned Sky as she resumed making breakfast. Noticing that Alistair was completely dressed and had his helmet under his arm, Raphael asked, Where are you going? Just for a ride on my motorcycle. I'm seeing if I can convince Lola to come with me. Lola hates riding motorcycles, Sky called as he left the room. They move too fast, according to her. I'll sway her to my way of thinking. No worries. Sky and Raphael exchanged exasperated glances. About an hour later, everyone in the house was up and about, doing their own things. Valen was in his room with Misha and Jasper. Lola was with Alistair, returning from their adventure on his motorcycle. Raphael was in the office working on some nameless project, and Sky was finishing getting ready to go run some errands. Hey, I'm going out, she said, poking her head into Raphael's office. Where to? He asked, getting up from his chair and walking with the girl to the garage door. Sarah wants a word with me about something, Sky replied eagerly as she put her helmet over her head. I don't know what, as he was being his usual talkative self, and I mean that with every sarcastic fiber of my body. Be careful, he cautioned as she slowly started wheeling the bike to the curb, following after her. I'll be fine, she said, lowering the shield on her helmet. She revved up the bike, started down the street, just barely missing the red-haired biker as he pulled into the driveway. I dropped Lola off about a block from here. She said she wanted to walk back, but I came back to drop my motorcycle off. That wasn't Sky who just left, was it? Asked Alistair as he pulled off his helmet. It was. Alistair looked alarmed. I forgot to warn her, he said, paling a bit. Warn her about what? Raphael asked suspiciously, looking at the younger biker. I stuck something on the side of her bike. A loud explosion caught their hearing, and they exchanged alarmed looks before Raphael took off, heading to where Sky's downed motorcycle was at the end of the street. Sky had been thrown from her bike and was face down on a neighbor's lawn. Even as he reached her, though, she was shakily sitting up and pulling off her helmet. Skylar, are you all right? Raphael asked urgently, getting down beside her and checking her over to make certain she was all right. Sky stared at her motorcycle, then looked to Raphael. This has Alistair's name written all over it, she said irritably, glaring at him. He's paying for it if there's any damage to my motorcycle. Raphael let out a sign of relief when she said that. If she could say that, she was perfectly fine, albeit a bit shaken by the crash. He put an arm around her waist and gently hoisted her to her feet. Are you hurt? He asked, concerned. No, I'm fine, she replied, walking back over to her motorcycle and inspecting it. I was wearing my helmet and my elbow and knee pads. I'll be fine, she continued, going to her tiptoes to kiss Raphael's cheek. Thank you for checking on me, Val. Raphael had not really wanted her to ride her bike after the accident that had just happened, but Sky insisted that she had to go. She was already going to be late to whatever meeting Kaiba was holding. After making certain there was no more devices attached to her motorcycle, she revved the engine and left the neighborhood. This left a somewhat mollified but still very much annoyed Raphael in her wake. Alistair had some explaining to do. A black limo pulled up in front of Kaiba Corp. The man who stepped out of it was tall, his toned body athletically built. His hair was white, and his eyes were a dark shade of purple, with black coal lining their edges. I'll walk back to the hotel. I'll meet you there, he said curtly. The driver dipped his head once before driving away, out of sight of the tall building. At that same moment, Sky rolled up on her motorcycle. Taking off her helmet and shaking her hair free of the helmet, her eyes landed the young man who had stepped out of the limo. "Malik?" she asked in surprise, walking towards the main entrance and approaching him. She had met him once, just after Battle City had ended. He had been in Domino for a day, when a flight he had been on was delayed. She had been in the airport. They had fallen to chatting, and that had been how she had learned he was the runner-up in the Battle City tournament. It had been a couple years since she had seen him, though, and she couldn't remember if that had been what he looked like. The man ignored her as he walked into the lobby, turning around only when he realized that he was being followed by the girl. "You're mistaken, miss. I'm not Malay. My cousin's back in Egypt." Sky glared at the man. "Man, you sound so much like Zero," she mumbled. Except that I'm better. I'm here to meet with Zero Kaiba on a personal matter," he stated, sending a cold glare right back at her. "Hate to break it to you, Han, but he won't see anyone. You need an appointment if he doesn't know you're coming," she said, crossing her arms over her chest. A smile quirked the corner of his mouth. "Perhaps we shall see," he replied mysteriously, and before she could say anything further, the elevator door opened and he stepped inside. The doors closed before she could enter the elevator as well. "Arrogant son of a sphinx," she muttered, going over to the other elevator and boarding it. She hit the button for the floor Zero worked on. She was still muttering darkly about the stranger when she pulled open the office door, striding inside. Her cousin had been working on something at his computer, but at the sound of his door opening, his head lifted up. "About time you showed up," he said flatly, gesturing to a seat in front of his desk. Sky noticed the same man from before, lounging in a chair next to her, and stared. "What is he doing here?" "I'm here to collect the new model of the dual disk you're testing, as well as the tester's fee for doing so," the man replied boldly. He glanced at the CEO. "I'm sorry if I was slightly late. I had last minute things to settle with Malay before my departure." He dug in his pocket before drawing out a small pile of Duel Monster cards. He wanted to give these to the little Kaiba, seeing how as he never properly apologized for kidnapping your younger brother. Zero took them with a curt nod and set them to the side of his desk. "You'll find what you're looking for outside with my receptionist. Sky, this is for you," he continued, handing her an envelope. She growled, but took it, opening it and pulling out a piece of paper inside. "Does he have to be in here while I'm reading it?" she asked, looking pointedly at him. The man arched an eyebrow. "The little lady seems to lack manners," she remarked. Zero gave no outward sign of annoyance, but Sky recognized the annoyed light that entered his eyes. It will do you well to speak kindly to my cousin, Ishtar. Skylar, this is Zaki Ishtar. He's testing out a newer model of a dual disk I'm working on. Exercise what manners you have, the both of you, or I'll kick you out of my office." "Pleasure to meet you," she said, rolling her eyes as she glanced at the paper in her hands. Seconds later, she bristled and swiveled a furious glare at the man behind the desk. No! No what? I refuse. I saw what happened in the last tournament you held. There's no way I'm participating in it. No way, no how. I never said you had to, I said overtly, clearly expecting this response. However, you'll find that your biker friends have also been sent invitations. I know for a fact that Alistair certainly will participate, as will Valen once he learns that Joey Weller and Mike Valentine are also involved. She continued to glare at him. This is blackmail, Kaiba, she ground out, earning her an interested look from Zari. She rose to her feet and stormed out of the room. As an afterthought, she poked her head around the corner of the door. Expect revenge. If by revenge you mean sabotaging my alarm clock, I'm not worried in the slightest, Zero replies flatly. She glowered at him some more before vanishing from view. Zaki raised his eyebrows at her before looking to Zero. Your cousin has a lot of spirit, he said as he also got to his feet. I'll see you both at the tournament. Sky was waiting for the elevators. When Zaki finished collecting an envelope in the medium-sized box and strode toward her, he started eyeing the closed door contemplatively before she shrugged. I guess I'm taking the stairs. The elevator doors opened at that moment, and Sky grabbed his arm. Nice try, pal, she said, dragging him inside. You aren't pulling your elusive stranger act on me. Zaki let out the first honest laugh she heard from him. I would think that your meeting my cousin would stop me from doing such an act. Am I mistaken that you do not know Malik? Skylar was about to reply when the elevator stopped on the second floor. Why did it stop here? Why did it stop here? Zaki asked as the door slowly started to open, frowning as he stepped out. I have no idea, she replied, following after the man. A loud explosion shook one of the rooms near them, and they both jumped, stumbling away from the now smoking doorway. The door opened up seconds later, revealing a short but very familiar girl who was slightly smoking. That, it's a tiny girl, Zaki muttered, eyeballing her. Sky pinched the bridge of her nose. Does Zero know you've got a lab here, Amber? Amber ignored Sky, glaring at Zaki with a slightly murderous glow. I'm not tiny, I'm fun-sized. And no, Sky, your cousin does not know I set up shop in an old broom cupboard. Who's this guy? She asked, jerking her thumb at the taller man. Amber, this is Zaki Istar. Zaki, this is Amber Cardstone, Sky introduced. Who are you to throw my name around like that? Zaki asked, agitated. I'm just trying to be polite, Sky hissed. No matter, he said dismissively, heading for the stairs and waving over his shoulder at them. I suspect that I'll see you ladies later. Sky scowled at his retreating figure. Bastard, she muttered. Her countenance brightened as she looked over at Amber. Are you coming over for dinner tonight? You bet, Amber said brightly as they walked toward the elevators. What are you having? I don't know. It's Alistair's turn to cook, and Raphael and I are going out tonight, so it could be anything. I see, Amber said fruitfully. Well, have fun on your date. When Sky reached the lobby, it was to find that Zaki was just walking out the door. She got up to him and asked, "Do you need a ride?" "I appreciate it, but the offer is unnecessary. I can walk. It is healthier. It is healthier." He chuckled. "I'll just take some back alleys. I'll see you in the tournament." Sky said nothing, watching him leave with narrowed eyes before mounting her bike and driving off. At the house, Raphael had taken Jasper on a fairly long walk, and when he returned, it was to find Alistair and Lola chatting on the couch. The blonde unclipped the dog from his leash and folded his arms across his chest. "What the hell were you thinking, Alistair?" he barked, causing the redhead to jump. "Sabotaging Sky's bike? Really? Are you trying to kill her?" "You did what?" shrieked, smacking Alistair upside the head. "I didn't do it on purpose," he said angrily. "Valen handed it to me and told me it was some sort of stabilizing thing that Sky had on her bike." "No, but you know better than to trust Valen with anything like that," Raphael said flatly. "Frank war ends now, before anything worse happens." "Tell that to your girlfriend," roared Alistair. The garage door leading into the house slammed closed, and they all looked over in his direction. The sound of shoes being jacked echoed through the hall. Skylar entered the room shortly afterward, fist clenched at her side, and mumbling incoherently under her breath. "Hey, how did it go with Kaiba?" Raphael asked, walking up to her and kissing her forehead. "Alistair, your hatred of Kaiba is justified. Thinking he can just tell me what to do and sign me up for things without my consent, blackmailing son of a sphinx." "What are you talking about, Chica?" Lola asked. "Kaiba is holding another tournament and wants me to play a certain role in it." "A tournament?" Vernon asked, coming up from the basement. "Sweet! I'm so in!" "He said he sent invitations," she grumbled. "And also he's working with some pain in the rear man on it. He's like Zero's Egyptian counterpart. I want to trial him. He's an ass, in other words." Alistair shrugged. "Joy, I can deal with it." Raphael looked at Sky, sensing that there was more to this than what she was saying. He decided to wait until later to ask what was bothering her. Alistair stepped into Valen's bedroom and instantly decided that the boy needed a personal maid. About half this room looked as if it would need a nuclear waste removal team to visit. "Valen, whatever it is, I didn't do it," the Australian stated immediately, looking up from the comic book he'd been reading. "Didn't do what?" The redhead asked, cocking his head to his side and arching an eyebrow. "Nothing. What's up?" Valen asked with a far too bright smile. The redhead thought he should ask about whatever it was that prompted a reaction like that out of Valen, but then thought better of it. Chances were he didn't want to know anyways. His eyes started over to where Misha was sitting and then stared. "Seriously?" he questioned, looking at him and then back to Misha. "Yeah, why not? Why did Why did you come in here for then? What did you come in here for then? Sighing, the redhead sat Indian style on the floor in front of him. Look, it's Raphael and Sky's anniversary today. Not to mention New Year's Eve, Van exclaimed. Yes, I know. I overheard you talking to Amber on the phone. You were planning a prank, weren't you? What if we were? Van questioned. Look, it's their 11-month anniversary. Almost their 1 year. I think Raphael wants to do something special tonight. Can you please not pull anything? Don't worry, Alistair. Amber and I won't do anything. When we were talking, we were actually planning a fireworks show for tonight. What are you going to do to get back at Sky? You're going to put her behind the fridge? Alistair rolled his eyes and started walking out of the room. Didn't you hear, Raphael? No more pranks for me. Although once a couple weeks have passed and it's safe to pull a prank, I'll go ahead and do that. Oh, and Valen? Yeah? As amusing as that is, please don't dress Misha up as a door monster anymore. The redhead stated as Misha swatted at the dark magician hat that she currently wore. We don't need to give Skylar any crazy ideas. He got interrupted by a bark coming from behind him and saw Jasper. Currently, he had a pair of blue dragon wings on his back and was wearing a blue eyes white dragon helmet. Valen smiled sheepishly. Oops. It was later in the evening as Zaki stepped out of the shower, a towel wrapped around his waist and his toothbrush in his mouth. He got back to the hotel about an hour ago, and after contacting his cousin, he decided to take a much-needed shower. He opened the bathroom door and came into his bedroom, only to find a familiar girl sitting on the bed. His deck was in her hand, and she was examining the cards curiously. What the hell are you? How did you get in here? He questioned. His voice was muffled by the mouthful of toothpaste and toothbrush. Air vent, she said airily, flipping to another card in his deck. So you have a Gravekeeper's theme for your deck? Zaki scolded as he walked over to her and grabbed his deck out of her hand. I'm impressed that you managed to get in here from the air vent. But shouldn't you be at dinner with Skylar? They're used to me showing up at random times, she replied dismissively. She grinned up at him. And besides, you're interesting. He scoffed. Everyone usually finds me to be. He frowned, studying the smaller girl. Why do I get the feeling that you've got some ulterior motive for being here? Amber grinned again. This one was one that Sky and the bikers all call her, planning mischief smile. I'm totally making you my new victim, she declared, getting off the bed and skipping to the door. Bye. She opened the door and exited, closing it behind her. Zaki stared at the door before he let out an amused chuckle. Interesting indeed. 5 minutes later, Amber poked her head through a vent in the ceiling, starting him. By the way, you're gorgeous without a shirt on, she said before vanishing once more. Skylar and Raphael returned from their anniversary day just in time to see Valen and Amber setting up some sort of contraption in the front lawn. fireworks strapped to it. Several lawn chairs have been set up next up to it. What on earth do I need to be worried? Asked Raphael, eyeing them warily. Better yet, should I have a bucket of water? No, we've got it under control, Amber declared blithely. Raphael and Sky exchanged exasperated glances. Raphael decided to sit down, gently pulling Sky onto his lap. When he felt something pawing at Pan's leg, he looked up. He looked down. Misha? He questioned with a laugh, picking up the cat. She's been dressed as guardian heroes. Skylar rubbed the back of her head. Surprise, she said, smiling. It was at this moment that Jasper came into view, and everyone's eyes swiveled onto the dog. Whose idea was it to dress Jasper as the Blue Eyes White Dragon? Sky asked, looking at the group. Then flinched and looked uncomfortably back at her. Because I think the Red Eyes Black Dragon would be a better fit for him. He looked pretty cool with black dragon wings, don't you think? I told you this will give Sky ideas, Alistair muttered under his breath. First the pets, I'm telling you. Next she's going to dress me as Guardian Elma. You know I would, Sky said, starting the redhead. Thanks for the idea, Alistair. Alistair glared at her and then looked at Raphael. Hey, you suggested it. He started putting his hands up in defense. Chapter 31. Picnic and Fly Paper. Let me just see if it's exactly. Yes, it's okay. Sky's POV. The clock read down in the morning, but since Lola and I were still wide awake, we didn't pay it any mind. We were careful to keep our voices down for the other 3 occupants of the house. We didn't know if they were asleep or not, so to be on the safe side, we were trying to stay quiet. Trying to. Tell me something I don't know, Lola sang, bouncing on the bed and nearly dislodging me from my perch on the edge of the bed. I wasn't aware we were singing Selena Gomez, I commented. Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about, the other girl huffed, and then she tackled me. Tell me the details. How did it go? Oh, don't think you can keep it to yourself. Lola is not much taller than I am, but when you're being tackled by her, it's the equivalent to being tackled by a pro football player. There's not much to tell, Lola, I chuckled, pushing her off me with a grunt. Get off me, you silly goose. Yes, there is. Where did he take you? What did you do? What did you eat? Oh, come on. There are a ton of questions I need to know the answer to. Calm down and I'll tell you, I said, holding up my hands and laughing again. Flashback. Raphael, where are we going? I asked as he led me to the car. It's a surprise, he said, getting into the car. He waited until I was sitting down and buckled before starting the engine. You know that I hate surprises. Years of living with Alistair and Valen have taught me to be wary of them. I huffed, crossing my arms. Why did you want to dress casually anyways? I had on a pair of denim shorts, a white baby doll tank top with a black camisole underneath, and flip-flops. Raphael was wearing cargo shorts and a button-down plaid shirt. covered with a pair of sandals. "You see," he replied, giving me a playful look. "You can trust me when I say you'll like this surprise." I giggled and shook my head, looking out the window. I stared at the scenery for about 10 minutes before something occurred to me, and I looked over at Raphael. "Are you sure it's a good idea for us to leave Valen and Alistair in charge of the house?" I asked. Raphael sighed. "Probably not, but Lola's there. If nothing else, she'll keep them in line. She's scary enough to do that." I grinned. "You're scared of Lola?" "It's not fear, it's healthy caution. When we first met her, she basically broke into our house, brandishing a baseball bat and threatening to use it on the first person who blinked at her." He frowned. "Why a baseball bat, though?" I giggled, causing him to glance bravely at me. "Good friends ask why you're crying. Best friends already have the baseball bat ready to beat the living crap out of who made you cry." Raphael's eyebrow rose. "I've heard that one. The one Alistair and Valen tend to live by. I've heard that one. The one Alistair and Valen tend to live by goes something along the line of good friends help you get up when you fall. Best friends trip you again to get another laugh." He stopped the car and then gestured beyond the outside of the car. "This is our first stop," he announced, getting out of the car before I could react. Seconds later, he was already on the other side of the car and holding the door open for me. Come on. End flashback. "Where did he take you? The suspense is killing me," Lola whined, bouncing in place. I laughed. "Surprisingly, the beach." Flashback. The moment my feet hit the sandy ground, I went straight for the water, the ocean breeze tossing my hair behind me. I came to a stop just at the water's edge, the cold water splashing over my feet and onto my legs. The smell of salt water and the sound of the waves made me smile. The sun was just starting to go down. This only added to the beauty of the scene. I was so caught up in the moment that I did not notice Raphael coming up behind me until his arms snaked around my waist and he rested his chin on top of my head. "Raphael, this is amazing," I breathed. "I didn't think you would do something like this." He laughed softly, his breath warming the top of my head. "I may not like the water, but I don't mind watching the sunset with you on the beach." I rested a hand on top of his. "The only thing missing is a romantic picnic to go with the sunset on the beach." He tightened his grip around my waist and then lifted me off my feet to turn me away from the ocean. "You mean that one?" he questioned with a teasing smile. I stared in complete disbelief at the completely set up picnic before looking up at him. "You sap," I said at last, getting up onto my tiptoes to kiss him. End flashback. "Aw, Chica, that's so romantic," Lola cooed, taking on a dreamy expression. "And he wasn't quite done," I said reminiscently. Flashback. We'd finished eating and Raphael had been putting away the plates, but as he opened the basket to put the plates in it, he paused, one of his eyebrows shooting up in surprise. "You okay, Raphael?" I began. You okay, Raphael?" I began, leaning over to see what had caused him to stiffen up. My eyes landed on a pair of underwear. My underwear! And I gasped, quickly grabbing it and hastily stuffing it into my beach bag. Valen was a dead Aussie the next time I saw him. Alistair knew better than to mess around with my undergarments. Raphael tried and failed to not look too amused. "Pink polka dots, huh?" My face heated up even further. I needed a distraction that would lead away from this rather awkward conversation. Thankfully, an idea popped into mind and waited until he set the dishes back inside the basket. The moment he closed the basket, I leaned over and shoved him with just enough force to knock him backward onto his elbows. He had not been expecting it and was completely caught off guard. "Tag, you're it!" I giggled, scrambling up from the blanket and running towards the water. I completely underestimated his reaction time. By the time I've gotten up to my knees in the cold water, he caught up to me. He did not even pause his stride, just simply reached down and scooped me into his arms before turning on his heel, causing us to spin in the water. I threw my arms around his neck and started laughing helplessly. "Happy anniversary," he murmured, and then he leaned in to kiss me. End flashback. Lola had to bury her face in the pillow to muffle her squeal. Sky, that's so adorable. "I think I've got cavities from the sweetness," she said brazenly. "Now what did he get you for your anniversary present?" I was just beginning to reply to this latest question when Alistair promptly opened my bedroom door and came inside the room. "Ever heard of knocking?" I asked indignantly. Lola, your brother is looking for you downstairs. Apparently we're supposed to do something at home. Your parents are looking for you. Why they would feel the need to do this at 2 in the morning is beyond my understanding," he said, completely ignoring me. Lola pouted but got up from my bed and went to the doorway. She passed Alistair and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek before leaving. As an afterthought, she leaned back around the doorframe. "I want a text with the rest of the details," she said firmly. "I'll get you one, I promise," I assured her, shooing her out of the room. Alistair, however, remained where he was. I was just about to ask why he was still in the room when he cleared his throat. "Sky?" "Yes?" "Your knowledge of the Spanish language is a lot better than mine is," he said abruptly. "Darth made us learn how to use it, certainly, but it's been a long time since I've had to use the language, and I was wondering if you could help me figure out how to say a few things." He noticed the surprised expression on my face, and after giving a careless shrug, he said, "Lola wants me to meet her maternal grandparents, and they primarily speak Spanish. If you help me here, I can offer my assistance with gaining revenge against Valen. He was bragging about putting your panties in the picnic basket earlier." I grinned after a moment's pause. "All right, Alistair, you have yourself a deal." The following day, normal POV. "You're losing," Sky remarked, smiling at her boyfriend. Raphael was sitting at the kitchen table, currently in the midst of a battle with the cat for the newspaper. The burly man wanted to read it, but Misha seemed to think it was quite comfortable to play where she was on the newspaper. Hush, he retorted naturally. He finally got the newspaper out from under her and held it out triumphantly for the cat's inspection. Sky's eyebrows rose. You know, I could have saved you the trouble and briefed her with cat treats. She pointed at you. Ah, but that would be taking the fun out of it, he replied. How did you sleep? Sky started rummaging through the cupboard to try and find her favorite coffee mug. Stayed up late with Lola, but other than that, I'm fine, she said, frowning when she couldn't find the cup. Raphael, have you seen my Minnie Mouse mug? Can't say as I have, Raphael said as he rose to his feet. Maybe someone put it up on the higher shelves by accident. Sky caught his hand and then started rummaging through her pocket. Raphael stared down in surprise when he felt something being placed on his wrist, and he looked at it curiously. Sky, what's this? The girl had attached a dark broad leather band around his wrist. Atop of the band was a silver nameplate. Etched into the plate was Sky, written in elegant print. At his curious gaze, she lifted up her other wrist, showing him a thinner, lighter leather band around her own wrist. It was identical to the one she just attached to his wrist, save for the fact that Raphael's name was written on the silver plate in cursive. These are his and hers bracelets. Couples wear them to show others that they're in a relationship. I was going to go for a ring, but I figured that the leather would appeal more to you. Most of the rings were kind of girly. Raphael gazed at it and then smiled fondly. You know me all too well, he said with a chuckle. How on earth did you get my wrist size, Ro? Sky rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Well, I had Vernon sneak into your room to measure your wrist. You're so used to him going in there that you didn't even wake up when he walked in. Raphael eyed the bracelet appreciatively for one last moment before reaching up into the cupboard, procuring Sky's missing coffee mug. Thanks for this, Sky. The girl turned pink. I would have given this last night, but I honestly kind of forgot, she admitted, and then she paused when her eyes went to the inside of her coffee mug. What on earth? A small ring box was resting on the inside of the mug, and Sky lifted it up, setting her coffee cup down on the counter. She looked to Raphael quizzically. Raphael, did you? I forgot to give you my gift last night as well. No, it's not an engagement ring, he added hastily, correctly interpreting the reason behind her sudden silence. Go ahead and open it. Sky lifted the lid of the ring box and then gasped. Resting on the velvet cushion was a silver ring, a sapphire on its front. Cubic zirconium lined the sides of the ring. Raphael, this is a reminder for you of just how much I love you. Whenever you look at it, remember that I think you are the best thing that's happened to me. Sky started to tear up. This is the nicest thing anyone's ever given me, she said, giving him a watery smile. Same goes for you, she continued, holding up her bracelet in emphasis. Raphael took the ring out and carefully slid it onto her finger, letting out a sigh of relief when it fit her perfectly. I didn't have the luxury of getting Valen to do my dirty work, so I grabbed the first ring I could find, he explained. I wasn't sure it would fit. Even if it didn't, I would still wear it. I have a whole bunch of necklace chains upstairs that will hold it, she replied, getting to her tiptoes to kiss me. The romantic moment was broken by Valen's voice. Skylar, get me out of this flypaper right now! Raphael glanced to a suddenly too innocent Sky, who was looking everywhere but at him. At his stern look, she grinned cheekily at him. He put my panties in the basket. I put flypaper all over his floor. Fair trade. Chapter 42. Crash course in Spanish. Crash course in Spanish. It was sometime in the afternoon, and all was quiet in the biker's house. Valen was hanging out with Serenity, and Alistair was at Lola's, meeting her grandparents. No one knew where Amber was, but this was only a minor concern to them. This just left Raphael and Skylar to themselves. The couple decided to spend the day together. It was currently up in Skylar's room, with Jasper and Misha sleeping on the floor near the door. The cat was curled up against Jasper's side and found asleep. Currently, they were looking through some of Sky's sketchbooks, as well as those dreaded yearbooks that the clan brought over on her birthday. Raphael was sitting on the floor, his back leaning against the end of the bed, while Skylar was lying stomach on her bed, facing the door with her head right above Raphael's shoulder. Okay, I can't find you, Raphael asked, tilting his head upwards to look at his girlfriend. What do you mean? She questioned. I'm in there. Skylar, I'm looking under K. You aren't there. That's because I didn't go by Kaiba. I went by my mom's maiden name, Whitlock. Oh, he said, flipping to the page where the last name starting with W were. His eyes crawled down and he sighed. What? She asked the tad defensively. That was the sign. That's not a good sign in my line of experience. What? She asked the tad defensively. That was the sign. That's not a good sign in my line of experience. He chuckled. Even back then you hated being referred to as a Kaiba? Hey now, I hated his bad then. You still do. I tolerate him. Nothing more. Raphael would have replied at this point, except a furious roar from downstairs startled them both. Wasn't that Alistair? He asked slowly. Skylar Maria Whitlock Kaiba. I swear I'm murdering you while you sleep. Jeez. Sky squeaked. Jeez. Sky squeaked, jumping out of the bed and running to the door. She slammed it shut before diving behind Raphael and burrowing under her pillows. Not here, not here, not here! What did you do? He asked warily, noticing his girlfriend's scared expression. Well, let's just say that Alistair asked for a quick Spanish lesson. I might have accidentally mistranslated something when I was telling him what to say. The bedroom door shook violently as Alistair either hit or kicked it. Today's the day you die, Kaiba. Sky looked at Raphael, worry in her face. He's really going to kill me, she whispered, looking stricken. I did mistranslate it after all. Raphael sincerely dumped Alistair would harm Sky, but even so there was a cautious air as he got to his feet and unlocked the bedroom door. Sky whimpered and shifted herself to the space under the bed. Raphael opened the door, only to be met with Alistair's pounding fist on his chest. I wasn't aware that it was a door, he announced, causing the redhead to shift his angry gaze to him. Where is she? Alistair demanded, trying to look past the blunt. Raphael folded his arms over his chest. And you think I'll tell you where she is so that you can potentially murder her? Whatever it is she did, you're overreacting. It's not overreacting, Raphael. Any chance of getting Lola's grandparents to approve of me is probably ruined, and it's because of her. I'm sure she didn't mean to, Alistair. I'm sorry, Sky said timidly from under the bed. Alistair glowed at where her voice had come from. Sure you are, he glowed at last, turning away from the blunt. Whatever, Sky. They probably think I'm an idiot. Thanks a lot. Redhead stormed down the hall and vanished into his room, slamming the door behind him. He's gone, right? She asked, coming out from under the bed. The moment she stood up, she was staring face to face with the blunt, whose arms were folded over his chest, and who now had disappointed look on his face. What? What did you do? Fine. He asked me for some Spanish lessons, and I taught him, but I might have thrown in a word or two by accident, or a whole phrase, really, and by his reaction, I'm guessing he used it. Why did he want you to teach him, and what did you teach him? What did you tell him? Sky sighed. I told him to say, no se preocupe, señor. Yo prometo tratar a su hija como una princesa. But I also added on the phrase, comprar condones. In English? Alright. In English, the first part translates into, don't worry, sir. I promise to treat your daughter like a princess. But the second phrase meant, and I'll buy her condoms. Raphael's expression remained serious, and it was beginning to scare Skylar, until he let out a loud and amused laugh. Oh, Sky, don't worry about Alistair. He's only embarrassed. He won't kill you. That's what you think, Alistair snarled, having heard them through his door. The later part of that evening found Alistair still in his bedroom, plotting various ways to get back at Sky for what she had done. He was so engrossed in his planning, however, that he failed to notice the window open. Hey, Alistair, Lola announced seconds after she slipped into the room, shutting the window behind her. He leaped out of his bed and faced the intruder. Once he realized it was Lola, however, he stopped and raised an eyebrow. Lola, how did you climb the window up to my room? No, wait. How did you know this window was mine? Amber, she said as an explanation. Of course, he sighed. Look, Lola, I'm sorry about what happened earlier. I asked Skylar to teach me some words to impress your grandparents, and apparently she thought it funny too. Lola cut Alistair off. by kissing his cheek. What was that for? Questioned Starter. She giggled. Don't worry about it, she said, smiling. But your grandparents, he began uneasily. Though it was funny, she replied. Though it was funny, she replied with a laugh. Though it was funny, she replied with a laugh. So did I. A faint grin lit his features, and he looked completely relieved. Good to hear. Well, I guess since you're here, if you want, do you want to watch a movie or something? Is it harder? Of course not, he retorted. I'm not Sky. True, she giggled. Unfortunately, I can't stay tonight. True, she giggled. Unfortunately, I can't stay tonight. Pick me up tomorrow at 6. I guess you can't say that it's technically our first date. What about the one with Raphael and Skylar? That was the double date. Tomorrow's the first date that we have on our own. Alistair pulled her closer. Ah, well then, if that's the case, then I'll definitely be on time. Good, but I better get back home, she said, kissing him, and climbed out of the window in a flash. See you tomorrow. The moment she left, he fell back onto his mattress, forgetting entirely about his plans to get back at Skylar. A small but genuine smile made its way into his face as he drifted off to sleep. Whew. Well, guys, I'm finally done for the day. But don't you guys worry. The next part will be coming to you very soon. If you guys enjoyed it, subscribe, hit like, and turn on the notification bell. Until next time, bye!